And full disclosure, we're still new at this. We did have a major mess up on the video. However, we have really good audio. So fortunately, it's just a short segment, but we do not have video of Ryan because, well, operator error. She says it's because the beers are really strong, but I disagree. The beers are really strong, most of them.
A lot of those beers are very strong.
Yeah, 15, 20%. They make some serious beer down there. Anyway, use your imagination. Pretend we have video. We don't. Listen to the audio. Ryan's really good at talking about the beer, and he really knows the beer. Good?
Yep.
All right.
All right, enjoy the video. Get to Adroit if you get the opportunity.
Definitely.
And cheers.
Cheers. And we have one more beer.
We do. We are on to Confessions. This is Ghost 999. Again, we were talking earlier about how Ghost 1000 was 4 separate variants of this actual beer. So this is a 16.5% Russian Imperial Stout. Very, very, very big. You'll notice a good bit of malty sweetness still present. That's really there to make it palatable. At 16.5%, without that sweetness, it would be very, very boozy and not a very pleasant drink. So we're pretty comfortable saying that we nailed it. Untapped has largely agreed with us. Actually, last week, this was the number 3 highest rated beer on Untapped overall.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. We're very excited, very proud of this beer. So, with the nose, you are going to notice a bit of an ethanol smell, right? That's just at 16.5%. You're going to pick up some of that booziness just on the aroma.
Because you're approaching barley wine strength at that point.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, you're a hop skip away from being called a liqueur, you know. So, however, there's also a lot of roasted malt in there. There is a little bit of yeast ester as well, and I'll get to that. That's more of a finishing note than anything, and some people won't actually pick it up, but there is a little bit of almost a red fruit character at the very finish. That's layered between the roastiness of the malt as well as some of that malty sweetness. So we'll go ahead and take a sip.
Go ahead, you can go
Now,
first.
I know I poured you the full taster cup. That at 17%, don't feel obligated to finish this beer, but...
Gee, I don't know. Twist my arm. Now, the one that's Pecan Pie, is that a different base?
It's the exact same beer,
It's that
actually.
beer, okay.
Yep.
There's 4 variations. Can
There's
you name
4
the 4?
variations. Yes, so we have the pecan pie variation, blueberry pancakes, the creme brulee, and Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee and hazelnuts.
And which one is this?
So this is just the base.
This is straight
This
up.
Oh, this is just the base.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Yes.
we tried the
We tried the pecan pie
and
last
to
night.
be honest, I didn't think I was going to like it.
Oh yeah. Well,
you
it
know, I'm
looks like a bit much.
And I'm thinking sweet.
Uh-huh.
And I actually texted a friend of mine. I said, I just took a sip of a beer and said, wow, that's good. And it surprised me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I really didn't think I was going to love it.
People have been loving the 4 variants that we did of this. There's a lot of variation between things that are more sweet, like the pecan pie and the creme brulee, and things that have a little bit more roastiness and a little bit more nuance to their flavors. I think the perfect example of that is the Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee and hazelnuts. It doesn't overpower anything in the beer, and on its own, it doesn't necessarily stand out. But if what you're looking for in a beer is, I want to see, you know, what's the best thing that you can offer me? I would say we've started with one and we're finishing with the other, right? I think that the delicate nature of our lagers does not get enough respect or enough fanfare because of the fact that we're always associated with the 16.5, 17% stouts and barley wines. So the amount of effort that really went into making a beer like this happen, it doesn't mean that a beer like this is easy to make by any stretch of the imagination. It's both are very difficult, and the fact that we're able to successfully pull off both, in my opinion, makes me very proud to work here.
What was the Oreo beer? Tell us about that.
Oh, so
You might as well.
we've done quite a few Oreo beers
Have you?
because the first time that we did it, it was such a a popular option. Wasn't something that was happening in the brewing industry. People weren't really looking at it. We had already at this point in time been playing around with other more traditional adjuncts, like coffee, like nuts, like coconut. We sometimes like to be a little too experimental and came up with the idea, what if we just condition this beer on top of Oreos, and not just Oreos, but like a whole pallet of Oreos, what would happen? and that's really the genesis of a lot of our ideas. Is we're just sitting there like, whoa, what if we did this? I know it sounds crazy, but like, what would happen?
Right.
And so it always starts off as an experiment, and then the results really speak for themselves. So we haven't done an Oreo beer since last winter. The last one that we did was, we have an eggnog that we do that's only available in the tasting room. It's like 15%, and it's crazy sweet. It does taste exactly like eggnog with Oreos.
Eggnog with Oreos. Well, that kind of makes sense.
Well, we typically
'Cause you
use
would
like a
dunk-
rum barrel-aged stout for it, right? So you do get that like spirit note that comes in. And I mean, it's delicious. People absolutely love it. That's the most recent one we put Oreos in. But we've also put Oreos in at least 4 or 5 of the stouts in our lineup. Bay's Black as Your Soul was always a popular one. That's actually the Ghost #1, is BAYS. But that beer is one that we continue to do. Dia de los Muertos, a lot of fans of us will recognize that name. We consider that sort of our flagship stout. It's 13.7%, so it's not absolutely insane. You know, that's kind of middle of the road for us.
Only slightly insane.
Yeah, exactly. Once you exceed 17, now we're like, all right, well, that's just unreasonable. But at 13.7, that's a sessionable beer, right? For us, at least. Not for everyone.
That's a
but-
sessionable beer. Oh my God.
Yeah, at 13.7.
So every brewer, every cook, every chef has had
Mm-hmm.
a disaster. What happens here? Like, how much do you make of a new recipe that you're only trying for the first time?
So obviously we scale down as much as possible for the first time, right? Whether it is, so we have half barrel bright tanks, right? And we'll do 60 barrels of stout, and we might put some in this half barrel bright to see, how quickly do we extract flavors from Oreo cookies, for example.
You have half barrel bright tanks.
We have half barrel bright tanks as
Interesting.
well, right?
Okay.
So typically what we do.
So then you don't have to put too much beer at risk.
Exactly.
Time out for science. The bright tank is where the beer is served from. It's kept really cold. Usually when you go to the tasting room and they pull your beer, it's coming out of a bright tank. Correct me if I say anything incorrect.
No, you're good.
So if you have a bright tank that's only half a barrel, which is 15 and a half gallons, then you can go crazy with that because you're not putting the whole 12-barrel batch at risk.
Exactly.
That's
And
a
like
great
you
idea.
said, you can serve out of it, right? So that's one of the bigger benefits is now you can see extraction rate day by day, right, for different ingredients that we might consider conditioning things on. And then once we're pretty comfortable with where it is, we can up it to 2 barrels, we can go to 10 barrels, 20, or we can scale up dramatically higher if we want to contract it. But generally speaking, if we're testing something for the first time and if we can do it in a half barrel format, right, if this is all conditioning that's happening cold side after the beer's finished, then it'll always be in a half barrel bright first until we see what it tastes like, and then B, what are people's reactions to it. We won't ever count anything out. One of our most popular stouts we ever released was a stout called Death of Cthulhu that we used marshmallows and seaweed on the hot side during the boil.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
How'd that go over?
really well for
Yeah?
everyone that was not in the brew house when it was made, because boiling seaweed is a pretty pungent aroma.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah, really well on the receiving side, right? That a bit of umami that it imparts. You don't really taste the seaweed as much as the presence of the seaweed accentuates other flavors that are in the malt that would normally just kind of get lost in the mix, right? So it was a very successful experiment, one that we are really hesitant to do again, though, just like I said, because boiling a bunch of seaweed does create a very unique, pervasive smell that kind of latches onto your skin. So,
Have you ever heard somebody from a brewery use the term umami?
No.
No.
This may be the first.
I think you might be the first time.
Yep.
well,
I mean, it's completely
consume life,
appropriate.
drink art. I mean, that's the
But-
motto for a reason.
And I'm getting now why you have cigars in the tasting room and you recommend cigar pairings. Tell us about the
Food pairings,
Ask
cheese
about the
pairings.
pairing
The
thing.
food, music, and cigar pairings on some of the cans. I've never seen that anywhere else,
so
but it's brilliant.
If the art allows for it, then we will use it. The music pairings are probably the most collaborative effort on that side. It's really we're
With the
looking at the
artist
label.
or with the staff?
With the staff.
Okay.
We're looking at the label. We're looking at the style and thinking, we all like metal here. If that has not become
Obviously.
abundantly clear to anybody yet.
It's
we are all big
unusually
fans.
quiet in here right now.
It is.
Because you're not yet open.
I'm being hospitable, yes. However, a dirty little secret, I also love 80s dance pop. We released a beer in collaboration with Icarus Brewing about a month and a half ago called Hazy Q to a
Icarus
Pop.
in New
Icarus in New
Jersey?
Jersey?
Yeah,
No kidding.
Icarus in New Jersey. Yeah,
Awesome.
Jason was down here.
Very cool.
But that beer was a play on Stacy Q's Two of Hearts, which I swear to God, for about 3 weeks straight, was on a loop, both in the tasting room and in the brewery. For whatever reason, it just kind of captured us, and we had this collaboration coming up, and I was like, oh, perfect. This is the time. So we're not only on metal, but when it comes to the music selection, that is a much more collaborative effort. Otherwise, Mark, the owner, is really good at being able to identify some of the notes that are present in cigars, different cheeses, different foods, and being able to pair those with the notes that we're getting, be it from a malt-forward beer or a hoppy beer, being able to kind of pinpoint which of these notes or flavors are really good together, and as opposed to, too contrasting or one's going to overwhelm the other.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a music pairing recommendation for beer. That's awesome.
Yes.
But
That's-
speaking of music, is there a real music component in that? Is there a brewery band, or do you guys have bands in here pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID,
obviously.
So some of our fans will know about an event that we do called Dawn of a Dark Day, and that is our anniversary party. And for the last 3 years, it has been an all-you-can-drink event, and so it starts
what month?
with the beer fest, February.
February, okay.
Yep. Starts with a beer festival, and this whole area out front covered in a tent. We have heaters. Starts with a beer fest. We do bottle sharing. We'll have typically between 30 and 40 beers on tap from us, including 6 to 10 options that are specifically for that event. And that goes on until about 6 o'clock, at which point we set up a giant stage and have a few different metal bands come here and play really loud metal to a crowd that is loving our beer, and it is a unique experience to say the least.
So you
The
think
whole
maybe-
time we're also bartending, although invariably there will be at least one moment in time where you'll have to wait a few minutes to get a beer because we're all in the pit. It'll happen.
But no brewery band. You guys don't jam up there.
No. Unfortunately, there's a lot of work that has to happen,
Sure.
and that takes away from the ability.
And what
Not
is
to say
what
that-
is the metal link? Is it just something Mark liked?
Mark liked it. Pretty much everyone that was on the original team through now likes metal, and I also think we are trying to differentiate ourselves from other breweries. They're not doing the same things that we are. They're not taking the same risks that we are. And if we're going to be a counterculture brewery, we might as well commit to that from the beginning, right?
Yeah, good point.
And so we all like metal. And it was kind of a no-brainer for us that it would be a metal-themed brewery, and that's what we would run with.
All right, so I'm going to put her on the spot.
Yep.
And while I tell you the story of how I discovered that she's a super taster.
Okay.
A super taster is somebody who has more taste buds than the average person. So I poured a beer that we had made, and she said it's something's off with it, and I said no, it's not. It's perfectly fine. And then I went to get a second one, and I kicked a keg. So she was tasting the bottom of the keg. So she's really good at this. So what are you getting here? I get a lot of. It is sweet, but it's not cloying.
No, it's balanced. There's malt.
And this is definitely like the end of the meal, port wine, having a cigar.
Yeah,
really,
like your digestif or your nightcap, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's not like banging beers after you cut the lawn.
No. It is not sessionable.
This is the one that I would have after the lawn.
Oh yeah, no. What did you think of the lager actually? Like I said, a lot of people don't even try our lagers because they're
she's totally an ale girl. She'll admit that.
Yeah, I put it off to my Great Britain background.
Okay,
Is that
yeah, well, that's
ales
fair.
is where I gravitate. But that was beautiful. It was clean. It was crisp. It was flavorful.
Yep.
Super flavorful.
I would drink that any day.
Yeah, because when you said Mexican lager,
But especially after I mow the lawn.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
you mentioned foreign markets, like where specifically?
Oh yeah. So in terms of foreign markets, the largest market that we're in is definitely Europe, just broadly. Right now, we're sending between 10 to 12 pallets in total per month to Europe. So That's
Congratulations.
getting
That's awesome.
concentrated primarily in Northern Europe. We did just send a couple pallets to beer festivals in the UK, though. So London, there's another one that's north of London that I'm forgetting right now,
Okay.
but they're also getting our beer. And then aside from those, Europe in general, we're in Russia. We actually sent pallets of Russian Imperial Stouts to Russia, which
That's cool.
That's a ballsy decision.
Wow, how many breweries can make that claim?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We're also distributing in China. We sent 4 pallets there last week. We're Japan, Korea, Australia, Singapore, Thailand. And so now we just need to get into Latin America and we need to get into Africa, and we would have covered every habitable continent on the earth. And then we'll have a pretty cool party.
That gives you an idea of how busy this guy is, so we're going to let him get back to work.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers to that.